Hello, cinephiles, and welcome to Silver Screen Sips, a podcast where three idiot friends talk about movies. And today we discuss which one is more toxic: Overwatch, League of Legends, or Valorant.
Oh my god.
Isaiah,
Oh my god.
being a toxic League of Legends player, what do you think?
I would like to put a disclaimer that I've only started playing League of Legends. All right, a friend of mine got me
And he's
into it.
already there.
I'm already there. Yeah,
Case in point.
I'm gonna start like saying some real crazy stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I've also started playing Valorant. Surprisingly, I'm not that terrible since I just started PC gaming, so that should be fun. However, I can't stand Overwatch, so I'm gonna go with Overwatch. The sucks of all of them.
No, not what sucks. What's the most toxic?
Oh, probably League.
That's the question.
It's definitely League.
Fair.
Bethany, what's your opinion?
As a gamer who has never played any of these, I cannot say. So I'm going to go with the fourth option, which is Halo.
Wow.
I was going to say all of the
I just wanted to see Isaiah's reaction. No, I think Call of Duty is pretty bad now compared to before.
Okay, but we're not talking about these other games. We're talking about these three.
No, I don't
just
play those.
All of the above.
Okay,
yeah, that's your opinion. It's for dweebs.
How about we all agree that Modern Warfare 2 lobbies in 2009 was the most toxic?
If you're a bitch, maybe.
All right.
All right, we have quite the spicy episode today.
But anyways, 1v1 me, guys.
As someone who has played briefly League of Legends, whatever the fuck the team battles offshoot is, and only a couple games of Overwatch, I'm going to say both Overwatch and League of Legends outclass Valorant in terms of toxicity, but Valorant is still kind of new. So,
it can only go up from here, boys.
We're now a gaming podcast.
Congrats.
We're now a gaming podcast, exactly.
I am level 42 in my Valorant character.
I'm only at level 12. I can't even do ranked yet.
I
didn't even know that there was a level 42. I honestly pulled that out my ass.
You have an ass?
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay.
Are we sure I'm the one who's toxic right now? Because I think Lou is the...
I'm feeling a little aggression on that one. You okay? Did I do something to upset you?
No, that was just I didn't think, I just spoke.
Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to think.
Sometimes.
Not all the time. Sometimes it's funny to not think. Like now.
Sometimes it's like just now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. For anyone who's curious, I didn't actually mean that. Bethany, I apologize.
Our ass is fat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you, Isaiah. I wasn't going to say that, but thank you, Isaiah.
Jacob just texts you and goes, "What the fuck did you just say?" Oh my god. Anyways, welcome back, guys. So today is a listeners episode, which is why it's a little more unhinged, if you can't tell.
Very unhinged.
I'm always unhinged. Have you seen Twitter?
Right. So, anyways, welcome. And there are going to be spoilers ahead for the three films that we will be discussing, which will be Dune, The Grey, and what was the third one?
12 Years a Slave.
12 Years a Slave. So if you haven't seen these three films, just letting you know ahead of time, there's going to be spoilers for these three films.
So shout out to Caleb for giving me this movie.
Shout out Caleb. Woo.
Shout out Caleb. So I gave it a,
Shout out Caleb. Woo.
So delayed.
Sorry, I was distracted by something.
Lewis, we should be the only people important in your lives right now.
That's true.
You're correct.
All right. So shout out to Caleb for giving me 12 Years a Slave. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Wow.
I'm not 4 out of 5. I'm sorry. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 because it is.
Oh, even better.
It is a superb movie. I don't know. Everybody's phenomenal. Like the cast is stacked. Like it is super stacked, right? So the movie's like it's about 2 hours long, right? And then because it goes through the guy's life, right? So this guy, he is a free black man living in New York, and it's like 1891 or something like that. He's a very prominent violinist, so he knows how to use instruments and stuff like that. And so he then gets kidnapped, sent to the South in Georgia, where he becomes a slave. So it's a little weird. The movie starts off with like this really out of context scene, where he's a slave, right? Like it starts off as him as a slave. Just like a few shots of him like doing slave work and stuff like that. And then he's on the floor with a bunch of other people, right? Because they didn't give him good living conditions. And he's sleeping next to a woman. He can't sleep. And he kind of turns to her and she's staring at him. and then she just grabs his hand and puts it on her chest, and then he
Oh.
goes and fingers her, and then like it's real quick. She has like she climaxes, turns around and starts crying, and then it shows him laying there on the floor, and then it cuts to like a match cut to him in bed with his actual wife from like a few years prior, and then it gives you the title screen. It was and it gives you no context. Like I have no, and like the rest of the movie doesn't, like it refers to, like it goes eventually like gets back up to that point. But even when you get back to that point, it doesn't make any sense why they showed that as like the starting point of the movie. I was really taken aback by it. I don't understand what the context was. I really would like someone to explain that to me because it was so jarring.
I was going to watch this with my parents, but I think I'm not.
Yeah.
That is literally the first minute and a half. Like it's just that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know. It was just very weird. That's why it's like not a perfect movie. Otherwise, like there's a few other things there, but like other than that, that's like one of the reasons why it's not like a 5 out of 5 for me, because it's like
got uncomfy.
Yeah, because like in movies, the way you're taught to do movies, right, is that you have to
motivation.
Yeah, there should be a reason to do stuff, and even like on the back end of me like looking at behind the scenes, I didn't get any context on why they did that.
Right.
So I was like, okay, cool. What the hell? Interesting intro, that's for sure. Definitely memorable now.
Maybe that's why.
But yeah, no, the movie's really great. Every superb actor. And as the movie goes on throughout the guy's life, every time they introduce a new character, it's like an A-list actor. And you're like, what? He's in this movie? They're in this movie? Holy crap. So like the first person he runs it, like the first slaver he runs into is Benedict Cumberbatch. I was like, he's in this movie? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tillage the Slave was pretty star-studded.
Yeah, and then Paul Dano shows up as one of the slave hands, like one of the guys who who takes care of all the slaves and stuff like that. I was like, all right, I already know this cast is gonna be freaking great. And then Michael Fassbender shows up as the second slaver, who's like really mean to all the slaves. He's like known as the breaker. He likes to break slaves and stuff like that. And then Sarah Paulson is his wife. I was like, holy crap, she's here too.
I didn't know Sarah Paulson was in it, and that just makes me like it even more.
You're not gonna like her character. She's.
Well, I know she's
God.
white, so of course I'm not gonna like her character.
Jesus Christ, Bethany!
What?
She's a white woman in a Civil
The
War
movie
era
is
slave.
called 12 Years a Slave. No white person is good in this movie.
It was just a sentence. God.
I know. You know what I mean. You know what I meant.
She's white, so I know.
Oh,
Paul Giamatti's in this.
He is, yes. He's one of the slave sellers. He's one of the bankmen.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm looking at the cast right now, and we have Brad Pitt.
Yeah, he's also here.
I didn't know he was in it either.
He's one of the producers. Of
Paul Giamatti, Paul Dano, Benedict Cumberbatch, like you mentioned, Michael Fassbender, Garrett Dillahunt, and then I remember Lupita Nyong'o because she won an award for this.
I remember. That's the only cast member that I remember.
Oh, Michael Williams.
But yeah, Michael K. Williams is in here too. Even the smaller roles had like an A-list actor play them. It was crazy. I think one of the interesting things they did throughout the movie is that as he kind of interacts with different people throughout the 12 years that he is the slave, he kind of runs into different kinds of people. So like Benedict Cumberbatch plays like a slaver, but he's a slaver who's kind of nice. So he's not like a terrible person, but also he's a slaver. So it's kind of weird. So he's a slaver, right? He's like, I own you, but I'm nice to you, and I know like I'll treat you with respect and stuff like that. Even though like
he's trying to employ them, he's not trying to enslave them technically.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Despite the fact that Paul Dano tries to like, hang him, our Chiwetel Ejiofor, like our main character, freaking oh my god, Paul Dano, I love him. Anyway. So and then so they go and then there's another character who's Michael Fassbender. He's known as like the slave breaker. So he's like the mean slaver, the one who's like you guys are below me. Black people aren't worth anything, that kind of thing. And then there's another character who's on another plantation. He goes and visits them sometimes, and the slaver, the white slaver, actually marries one of his female slaves that works in the house, right? And so now she's sure. So yeah, now but she's also now one of the slave handlers. So she has her own slaves, and it's kind of weird. And then there's also like obviously the other slaves who are like their situations, how they ended up there. There's some who want to fight, there's some who don't. There's those kind of things. None of them were the same. They were all very different, and they all came from like different angles as characters, and it's just kind of interesting. to see how each of them kind of interacted with each other. Yeah, so there's a white slave, there was black slaves, there was black slavery. They literally covered the whole spectrum. That's crazy. Another thing I want to put a note on is it has a very odd soundtrack. It goes through like there's sometimes like it'll have music that's from the era, so it'll have like bug horns and stuff like that. And then they'll have the like obviously he plays the violin, so they'll have like violent things like that. But then other times it'll have like a really ominous, creepy soundtrack where it'll have just like horns and like drones and sounds that just they kind of like turn sounds that are from things like chains rattling on floors or knocking into each other, and they'll turn that into like a score for the movie. And I thought it was very interesting the way they did that.
Who's the composer?
I swear if it's Hans Zimmer.
I was going to say that sounds like a Hans Zimmer move. Is it your boy?
I don't think it's my boy. It's my boy, Hans Zimmer. So yeah, obviously, so interesting soundtrack. Hans Zimmer did it again. But yeah, so and then obviously every person's freaking amazing acting. Lupita Nyong'o deserved that freaking Oscar because damn, her freaking characters, man, that woman, her life was terrible, and that woman, she played it like she actually was going through it, dude. My God. So everybody, the whole cast deserved an Oscar because every single person, like Sarah Paulson, she was only in the movie for like 15 minutes, but damn, you really hated that woman. Yeah, we call it Michael Fassbender. That guy, he's a scumbag, but my God, you really hate that guy too. That guy is an amazing actor too. So, and then Chiwetel Ejiofor, who plays our main character Solomon, he did an amazing job too. So acting all around, A+. Holy crap, great movie, loved it. 4.5 out of 5. Mostly is that opening scene and some of the weird things in the middle there. Yeah, so
I definitely need to watch it.
Yes. Probably don't watch it with your parents.
Yeah, don't watch it with your parents.
Yeah.
Other fun fact about Fassbender is he is a race car driver.
Doesn't surprise me. He looks like one.
I did not know that either.
And he's married to the Laura Croft from Tomb Raider 2018.
Angelina Jolie? Oh no, wait, no, that's Alicia Vikander.
Alicia Vikander. Angelina Jolie? Brad Pitt? What?
I prefer Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider, to be honest.
I did not actually.
You didn't?
No, I watched both. I mean, it depends on which version of Tomb Raider you prefer. I prefer the more modernized Tomb Raider, like Lara Croft, and I do not like the old Lara Croft. So that's why I think I gravitated towards.
Is it because her boobs are squares?
No, maybe.
I've never played the original video games, like those ones you speak of.
Those ones you speak of.
Yeah, I played some of the 360 ones, like the Anniversary Edition and stuff like that. And I played the new Tomb Raider, like the whole new Tomb Raider franchise. And I prefer
didn't
those.
Play the latest one though. I heard it wasn't that great.
The last one's pretty okay. Like it falls in the same line. I think I don't think any of them are like better than each other. I feel like they're all kind of like good across the board. So they're all like good, like 7.5s out of 10s. Mm-hmm. I use the 10 score for video games. So,
okay, well, that's your overall review then of and rating.
Yes, of Tomb Raider as well.
Yeah. Okay.
We're becoming a half gaming podcast too.
Yes, apparently. Lewis, do you want to go next, or do you want me to?
No, I can go next.
Okay, saving the best for last. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, I watched Dune.
No, I said I was. Wait, what?
I thought you said you were going last.
No, I'm going next. I thought you were saving yourself as the best for last. Oh, well, go ahead.
What a mess.
Am I drunk? What the fuck? Okay.
No, I understood. I understood it the way Bethany thought it.
I misunderstood you. Go ahead.
Okay. No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, you.
Yeah. So I got to watch. I forgot who recommended this movie, actually.
Eunice.
Thank you.
Yay,
good luck with you. Good luck
Woo!
with your exams and stuff in Ohio, bud. Even though this will come out after you've already finished that. Anyway.
Love you, Eunice, but fuck Ohio. Continue.
He's about to become a cop. Anyway. Woo. So I got to watch a Liam Neeson classic, The Grey, which most people would think is some kind of like interesting horror movie almost, but it's actually way more of like but it's actually way more of like surrounding like a survival. And I guess what sets this apart is there's a lot more character development than I expected for not just Liam Neeson character, but the rest of the characters in the film. For those of you who don't know what The Grey is about, most trailers will only show you Liam Neeson breaking some fucking bottles that are tied to his hands so he can go punch a wolf to death or something. That's not
Badass
actually,
indeed.
yeah, badass Liam Neeson moment indeed, but that's not actually the main point of the film. Liam Neeson's character is a sharpshooter who works for an oil company in Alaska, and he's protecting all the oil workers from wolves that come from the forest. So he's just kind of sitting there with a sniper and just picking these bad boys off. So, but there's a lot of there's a whole different side to this film that you don't really expect until you actually watch it and kind of do a little bit of an analysis of it. The Grey has very big. Sorry, I didn't even give my rating in the beginning, so I'm going to give this I'm also going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. The Grey actually talks a lot about it's using a lot of the symbolism and the general cinematography and other parts of the film as a man battling his depression and his fear of death and self-worth.
Mm.
And there's a lot of hints at the idea of death and other things that happen. There's a scene that recurs throughout the movie a couple times. It's Liam Neeson's character laying under the covers with a woman. We don't know if this is his wife, his girlfriend at first, when you first see her, but she's clearly no longer around for whatever reason. On one of his last days working for the oil company out here in Alaska, and he manages to, shoot one of the wolves that was chasing a worker and goes over and listens to the wolf dying breaths, which is pretty intense as it is. That same night, Neeson's character actually writes a letter that he's going to kill himself to this woman, but he doesn't end up following through. You see him put the rifle in his mouth and everything, but then he hears the wolves, howling in the night, and he decides not to. The next day, he gets on a plane that's going to take him to Anchorage because they're out in some distant part of the wilderness. He's just going to have a couple weeks off, and he's going to be able to relax, and maybe even, I don't know if he can see this woman or whatnot. But what ends up happening is that the plane that's carrying him and all the pipeline workers actually crashes in the snow, still in the wilderness. He survives along with about, I believe it was 8 other men. They actually have a moment that kind of is reminiscent of the wolf dying because he can't save one of the guys who was injured in the crash.
Mm.
And, he's kind of talking to him, and he's like, it's okay. We're listening to your dying breaths, basically. And the guy dies. He tries to lead this group of men out of the wilderness, and he's also kind of all the scenery, all of the things he's kind of going through internally are referring again, once again, back to depression, self-worth, do I have the skills to challenge people? Neeson's character, as one of the symptoms of depression, which I also know well, is this whole big focus on his isolation from the rest of the people. He doesn't really connect with the other guys. He doesn't drink with them. He doesn't talk to them.
Yeah.
As it goes throughout the movie, he starts to kind of band together with them a bit more. They start to talk about their families and seeing their kids again and all that stuff. So Neeson obviously is trying to lead these guys through the wilderness. There are various moments where it's maybe the guys don't trust him, or the wolves are surrounding them, or they run into other issues that occur in the wilderness, fucking ravines and rivers that they can't cross and all these other crazy things. And one by one, the wolf pack actually manages to pick off each of the men, which is obviously breaking Neeson's heart little by little, because he's thinking I'm the sharpshooter. I'm supposed to be able to save these men. I'm supposed to be able to bring them back to their families, so on and so forth. And he can't even do that.
Mm.
There's various moments throughout the movie that kind of refer to people accepting the fact that they're going to die, or there's references to some of them believe in God, some of them don't. All of them kind of understand that nature is, something to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
And the poem that is recited multiple times, and there's a scene where you see Neeson is talking to the guys about the poem. He's like, oh, my dad used to hang this poem. It didn't have an author. He described it as his dad actually writing it, but he framed it and hung it in his den. And the lines, once more into the fray, into the last good fight I will ever know, live and die on this day, live and die on this day.
Sounds like a Walt Whitman quote.
It does sound like a Walt Whitman. I actually am going to look up who actually wrote that. Hold on.
Probably a white woman.
No.
White
he
woman?
said Walt. He said Walt Whitman, the famous.
Oh,
Who'd you think I said?
I thought you said white woman.
No, I said Walt Whitman.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Wow. You're literally,
That's
I can
fun.
tell that you were homeschooled. Your literally analysis is gone.
Jeez.
You're homeschooled too, Isaiah.
Yeah, but I know who Walt Whitman is.
I have no comment.
Yeah.
Y'all can suck it.
So did you find out who wrote it, or
I'm trying to
White
pull it
woman.
up.
a white woman? Oh, Captain, my Captain.
I guess it's John Treloar. I don't believe that's actually who wrote it. But anyway,
John Travolta.
no, god damn it. Anyway, it's a short poem. It's just those 4 lines, and that scene is shown in the beginning, and I believe right before Neeson accepts that he's going to have to fight the wolf, survive, and it's literally the very last scene is him preparing to fight the wolf, which is kind of crazy that like it's just the alpha wolf preparing to fight him while the rest of the wolves kind of surround them, like they don't actually attack or anything. And in the post-credit scene, you see Neeson's like laying there next to the wolf, and it shows that Neeson obviously beat the wolf, but you don't know if Neeson survives. So like the film kind of ends on that note where it's like, okay, like he kind of questioning whether or not he survived, but also showing that like right leading up to that moment, he had accepted that death is a real thing. He couldn't save these people, but he is going to save like their wallets and their memories so that when they do eventually find their bodies or something like that, they'll still have like a memory of who these people were. And he has basically accepted that there is an end to everything, and that it doesn't mean that he has to die because he killed himself. He can just die naturally, which in this case would be fighting a fucking wolf in the forest.
It sounds like the most badass way to portray like fight, like, oh, I'm gonna fight God, and so God is embodied by a wolf, and I'm gonna punch it.
Yeah, or like you could even say death and depression.
Who needs antidepressants? I'm going to fight depression with all my will.
Yeah, essentially. The essential character arc that he goes through, which I kind of had to look at it. I had to look up some stuff afterwards to like kind of really analyze it well, but the whole thing is him learning to accept death, and he doesn't need to kind of blame himself for all the things he is blaming himself for, which is the death of the other men, his wife no longer being with him, his failed suicide attempt, so. And I actually may be wrong because I remember I watched this film the other day. No, I'm wrong about one thing. I think because I said earlier in my description that we don't know why his wife isn't with him. I believe somewhere in the film they mentioned she died, but I'll get back to that later. In either case, my final recommendation is to definitely watch this movie. It is a 4.5 out of 5 to me. It's pretty much just a badass survival, like band together character arc for Liam Neeson, as it usually is. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have questions or comments or concerns.
It's like an onion. It's got layers, many themes.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Eunice, for your suggestion. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Eunice.
Okay.
It's time, baby.
So,
the best for last. Dune.
I love how we're gonna go from like a really cold Alaskan, like snowy place to now we're gonna end up in the desert in the sand.
I hate sand.
It gets everywhere.
Second.
What's the line? It's hard, it's coarse, and it gets everywhere.
I know what else is hard.
Oh my god.
No, it's rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere, I think is the line. I'm pretty sure. Okay, anyways. So, big shout out to Eduardo or Eddie for this suggestion. Even though I really did not want to watch this movie, I did watch Dune, the 2021 version. I tried to go in with an open mind and have no expectations because I wanted to enjoy the movie to the best of my ability. So I actually wrote notes. The fuck? No. Sorry, something just fell. Anyways.
Nice.
So yeah, I actually took notes. I'm a good student. I wrote my pros, my cons, and my overall comments. So I want to start with like overall what I thought of it. So first off, didn't know that half of the cast was like, I didn't know really other than like Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. Those are like the only 2 people I knew that were in this film. So I didn't know like Thanos was in it and Oscar Isaac and Rebecca Ferguson. And I love Oscar Isaac and I love Rebecca Ferguson. If you guys
If you
have
don't know
ever
who
seen,
Thanos is, it's Josh Brolin.
yes, I
Yeah, there
know,
you
but
go.
I don't. He's okay. He's not my favorite. If you guys have ever seen Girl on a Train, Rebecca Ferguson, 10 out of 10 in that movie. Underrated movie. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it.
You're a girl on a train.
Someone go suggest for the next listeners episode to make one of the boys watch Girl on a Train because it's a great movie.
I'll watch Girl on a Train just because you said so, Bethany. You don't have to recommend it.
Yeah, but I want to make you have to watch it.
Okay,
Oh,
fine.
I've seen this movie.
You have?
Yeah.
The one with Emily Blunt?
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
it was
I
2016.
really thought it was good for
Yeah.
what it was. Anyways, so I guess I'll start with my rating as well, since you guys started off with that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So on my Letterboxd, which is an app, you guys should go download it. I
No.
gave it a 4 out of 5. So
Wow.
higher than higher than I was expecting. So honestly, I had no idea what was going on majority of the time. Because I never read the books. So I can't really quite tell you what the story was about, other than I know that there was a desert with a sandworm. No, I know that there was like a whole kind of like, so Oscar Isaac basically, him and his family, they're like royalty basically of their, I don't know what you want to call it, kingdom or whatever. And
Whole
planet. Thank you. Okay, planet. See, I didn't understand a lot of the terminology, but okay. Anyways, oh my God, what was it called? Not drugs, but it was like drugs. Spice. Thank you. There's spice. Sorry, I haven't watched. I watched this
like Star Wars.
I watched this like 2 weeks ago, so it's a little fuzzy. But I didn't write that down. I should have written spice. There's spice trade. So they go to this other planet with Timothy Chalamet goes too, and he's like, I guess never been off planet or whatever. And so he goes, he's this little like whiny little prince. And he goes too, and they try to figure out like what's going on with the spice trade and everything, because right now they're like, there's an issue happening with it, with these bad guys. And so
Bad guys.
Long story short, Timothy Chalamet and Rebecca Ferguson, I forget their characters' names, they come across these like blue-eyed people who, what are they called again? Oh my God, I am blanking so bad on the terminology.
The worst review ever.
This is the worst review. Either way, let me, I'm just going to forget the summary. I'm just going to read off my notes.
Let's go off rip.
Great. We're going to go off what I wrote, and I'm just going to try and remember what I wrote.
Brother.
So yeah, I had no idea what the story was, clearly. However, I really loved the cast. I think it was a great casted movie. Oscar Isaac played Leto. He was incredible. I wish he didn't die as soon as he did. I kind of was upset about that because, well, yeah, the only thing I wish with Oscar, with like Leto's character or Oscar Isaac's character, was that the way he died, I just didn't feel like it was as strongly executed as it could have been. It wasn't bad per se. I think I was more just upset that he died because I just love Oscar Isaac, and I was like, damn it, I want to see more of him. And I couldn't because he's dead. But I think it was kind of anticlimactic in my opinion, personally. Another thing, the cinematography, obviously beautiful. The CGI also amazing. Wardrobe design, incredible. Like I said, great cast. I also think that the fight, like in the beginning of the film, there's a fight sequence where they're kind of like practicing, I guess, between Thanos and Timothy Chalamet, which I remember his character's name was Paul, where they had like these shields that came out and they're fighting each other and stuff. So like if you hit the shield, obviously it doesn't do damage, but if you hold it there long enough on the shield, it will penetrate the shield and actually hit them, which comes up a lot later on in the film too, without spoiling too much. But I already spoiled a big part of the movie, so might as well just say it. I thought it was really cool in the scene where there's this one scene where basically the building that Leto and Paul and all of them are at, I guess you could say hijacked or like attacked. And you can see it. There's this one part where Oscar Isaac is alone and he gets shot at by this like poison dart almost. And it's cool because it hits his shield because he turns his shield on beforehand. It hits his shield and then it slowly starts to penetrate and he can't reach it because it's in the middle of his back. So he's just like panicking, trying to get it, but he can't reach it. And it's just slowly going through his shield until it gets him. I thought that was cool. And then also the first sandworm scene was awesome. I think the action sequences overall throughout the whole film were really entertaining. But like I said, I haven't read the books. So it was a lot harder for me to understand what exactly was going on. But like, since I have a general understanding of sci-fi terms, because like I grew up watching Star Wars and like Lord of the Rings, and I just have always been a big sci-fi fantasy nerd, I can kind of put things together of like, oh, okay, like I can come to terms with, oh, okay, so they have these shields that just, they do this magic. I don't understand how it works, but okay, that's just a thing in this universe. And I can come to terms with it pretty quick. And I'm just like, okay, that's how this works in this universe. However, I don't know if that's different in the books because, you know, I haven't read them. So for anybody who has read them can tell me otherwise. So about 80 to 85% of the film, I had no fucking clue what was happening, but I got the bare bones of it and it was pretty to look at. So that's really all that mattered at that point. I also think the Freeman or the Freeman, I forget how they say it, lady, her death was way better than like Jason Momoa's character and Oscar Isaac's character combined.
Damn.
And I wish it wasn't that. Like, I feel like she didn't deserve that impactful of a death, because I feel like we barely knew anything about this character and she seems to get the most significant death, whereas Jason Momoa, I get his was pretty good. His was like number 2 for sure. But I feel like Jason Momoa and Oscar Isaac's characters were more important to the I guess you want to say the main character was Timothée Chalamet, to his character. So I feel like they should have, it's really just Oscar Isaac's death that really bothered me. I don't know why. It really bothered me.
Oscar Isaac. It's Oscar Isaac. That's why.
Yeah. I wish he just didn't die to begin with. But overall, like I said, 4 out of 5, which is pretty high from what I was expecting, because I was expecting, honestly, going in, like before going into it, I was expecting to give it like a 2 out of 5. But I tried going in with an open mind of, okay, I don't understand the story. So forget trying to understand it. Just go in as an open-minded individual and just like try your best to go with it. And I did to the best of my ability. And it was a good experience overall, I'd say. So thank you, Eddie, for making me do this, because I was never going to do it otherwise. So I appreciate it, I guess. So yeah.
I'm just surprised you didn't get like the story, like, or like that beginning.
Like, I understood it for the most part. I understand the premise. It's hard for me to explain the premise 2 weeks later. From if I had explained it the night of or the day after, I probably could have given a better summary of the film. But it's already a little fuzzy to me with like the terminology and everything. But I understand with the spice trade and everything, like that whole conflict and story arc. I understood that, and I also understand for the most part Timothée Chalamet's story arc with his mother. Like I kind of understand that, and I think probably more will get explained in the second movie, which I'll probably also have to watch, because Eddie will probably also make me watch that one.
So, so there's Dune Part 2 coming out, which thank God. But there's also going to be a separate side story that HBO Max is going to come out with, like a miniseries based on the Bene Gesserit, which is what Lady Jessica, Rebecca Ferguson's character, that whole arc of what they're doing with Paul, like that whole thing they're doing there. So they're going to go into they're going to delve into like the origins of the Bene Gesserit, which is now it's not as complicated as you might think. The whole storyline here is it's just Star Wars. Like it's just
that's what I was gonna say. It's basically like the boy who's like discovering what he's truly capable of, and he's like quote unquote the chosen one, you know. Like
before anyone says anything, the book of this is based off came out way before Star Wars, all right? So don't say this is like a copy thing. Okay, continue.
I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine when people like I'm fine with people taking a similar concept from another movie and making it something like that's their own. You know what I mean? Like if someone's like, oh, I was inspired by Dune, so I made Star Wars, which I know is not the exact way it went. But I'm just saying, if I'm like, that's good because that just because that's like, to me, that's the whole point of film or art, I guess you could say, is that it should inspire other creators or artists to use that as either motivation or influence or inspiration to create something else that is rather whether it's the same concept or something kind of as a branch off of it. I think it's good. I support it, is what I'm trying to say. I won't be upset.
Just to put a little pin in something, well, not a pin, but like so if anybody actually is confused about like the plot, it's
summarize it for me, please.
All right, so there's a House Atreides, which is Paul, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, all those guys, right? They own a planet, right? And there's another people who own the planet where all the spice is coming from, the desert planet. I forgot the name of the desert planet, but that's owned by another house named Harkonnen, which is Stellan Skarsgård's character, who he's the big fat floating guy.
Yeah,
right?
I recognize him. He was in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes. So those two. So basically, they kind of go over really quickly in the movies, and yeah, it does delve way more in the books, which I've started reading the books after I've watched the movie. So I have kind of a better understanding a little bit, but basically, just going off what the movies kind of tell you, is basically spice is what kind of powers like space travel, right? So it's very expensive. It's basically gas, and it's very, very expensive. Mimicking today.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what a coincidence.
So it's very expensive and very hard to make, which is because on that desert planet. And basically, there's that whole opening scene of them giving that ceremony, which they talk about like the higher people, the king and all like other people. Basically, there's a guy who's in charge of all the houses, who are basically, think of it like a king and then like their lords, right? So Harkonnen's a lord, Leto is a lord, and then there's a king who kind of tells them what they're gonna do, and he doesn't. And so the reasons right now aren't really explained, and they probably will in the future movies, of why the king or whoever's in charge gave Leto the Dune planet away from Harkonnen. And because Harkonnen and Leto, the Atreides, they don't like each other. They're obviously they don't like each other. So the whole point was that they were switching out places, and that's why they were gonna. And then Harkonnen was not okay with that. And then obviously, they asked Harkonnen asked the King's guards to help him with that. So there's some some conspiracy stuff going on there too. But basically, one house is getting the Dune planet from another, and they don't like it. And there's some conspiracy stuff going on, and they're all going to fight for it. And then
you also have this subplot with Freeman.
With the Freeman, yeah. So the Freeman are basically the people who live there, but that connects to the Bene Gesserit, which is where Rebecca Ferguson and Paul's powers are coming from.
People, by the way.
Yes, people.
Zendaya's people. That's who they are.
Yes, Zendaya's people. So basically, they're
blue-eyed bastards.
So the Bene Gesserit, what they do is basically they have a long lineage of being able to.
Can you say that one more time, because I don't understand what the word is you're saying?
Bene Gesserit.
How do you spell it?
Bene. It's like.
Well, you don't have to spell it, but just spell it out for me, like.
Oh, you want the phonics version?
Yes, thank you.
Ben E, like Benny, like the name. Gesserit. So it's like
Gesserit. Okay.
Gesserit.
Gesserit. Benny Gesserit. Got it.
Okay, so it's Ben the Jesuit.
Yeah.
Because that would make more sense to Bethany, because Jesuits are some weird offshoot of Catholics.
Oh my God.
See, I was thinking a French word like je suis.
But Jesuit. Yes, Ben the Jesuit.
Yes.
Ah, yes, French baguette. Omelette du fromage. Ah, yeah.
Oh, God. Everyone says that word. Okay, anyways, continue.
Because of Dexter's Laboratory.
But yeah, no. So the Bene Gesserit are basically just a long lineage of it's kind of like a church. But they are a long lineage of being able to control things. And because they're able to pass down things for years, they have plans that span centuries. They basically planned for their Messiah to come. And
so they are the Catholic Church.
And that is Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. So that's what there's a little moment there where when he puts his hand in the box, and then that lady, she's the head of the church.
That was a cool scene. I liked that scene where she was like, if you move, you will die. I was like, I would die immediately.
So yeah, there's that scene where her and Lady Ferguson like start talking. She's like, you're supposed to have a
Lady
daughter.
Ferguson.
Sorry, yeah, she's a lady in my book now. Sorry.
Love her.
But so basically they're supposed to be a church of all women, and they're the ones who are in charge of like doing stuff from behind the scenes. That
Yeah.
there's a lot of conspiracy stuff going on from behind the scenes and stuff like that, and they're one of the other ones, and they're kind of in charge of things. So when they get to the Dune planet, basically centuries before, they had sent prophets to come in and say that a person is going to come and be their Messiah, and that person happens to be Paul. He was supposed to be a woman, and so it was kind of like so the things got a little screwed up there, and that's why they were pissed off at Rebecca Ferguson's character, because she was supposed to have a daughter, but instead she had a man, and he's not supposed to be imbued with the powers that he's supposed to be given. However, he is technically the Messiah that the church is kind of bringing up, because he's becoming more powerful as he with like the voice and the powers and all that stuff. So that's what that little subplot there is going on, and it's going to be crazy to see how they kind of interweave into everything that's going to go on, because there's so many powers, there's so many different like power moves going on at the same time, and they're all interacting with each other. And then yeah, so if you're confused about it, just think of it as a bunch of kings and lords, and they're all fighting each other for some reason.
Yeah, that's basically what I did.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love this movie.
So, is there anything else you guys want to say about your films, or anything else you guys want to add?
Go watch them. Go watch all of them.
Yeah, go watch all these films.
I want to add a very stupid comment about Dune.
About Dune? Okay.
So what you've described to me just now sounded like Game of Thrones met Star Wars and Star Trek.
Sure, but Dune came out
and Tremors, because it had the earthworm thing.
The earthworm.
What were they? Sandworms?
You mean SpongeBob?
SpongeBob.
It's an Alaskan bullworm.
I mean, I was talking about Tremors with the giant worms that attack like this little fucking middle of nowhere town, but sure.
Yes. They're Alaskan bullworms. Everything's an Alaskan bullworm now.
Everything is an Alaskan bullworm.
Mom's an Alaskan bullworm.
Whoa.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you for watching, guys. Thank you, everyone, again, for your suggestions. Shout out again to Eddie, Eunice, and Caleb. Please keep your suggestions coming. We have the next 3 already picked for our next listeners episode. However, we always need more, and we love to watch your films. So please go email us at silverscreensips@gmail.com with any movie suggestions you have for our next listeners episode, and you will also get a shout out. We do post every Monday morning, so be sure to follow us on our social medias to get updates on the latest episodes. And we will see you guys in our next episode, which will be our new season. Which brings me to our very important announcement. We are posting a poll, which, knowing me, I probably have already posted it. Posting a poll so that you guys can vote on our next franchise that we're going to cover. The 2 options are the Matrix franchise and the Lord of the Rings franchise. So go to our Instagram at SilverScreenSips and go cast your votes now so that we know what we're going to be talking about next week.
Or else.
What? Or else?
Yeah.
This is a threat.
Yeah, or else we will find you and we will kill you. Anyways, okay, guys, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you in season 3. Go ahead, Lewis, say it. I know you want to.
Excelsior.
He's losing.
May the odds
He's losing
be
the
ever
passion.
in your favor.
Where's the passion, Lewis?
Harry, did you put your name in the goblet of fire?
That's better. Okay, bye, guys.